I'm Keith Olbermann, and this is The Resistance. This is a plea from what's left of the United States of America to the rest of the free world, specifically to the news media of the rest of the free world. Please, what happened in Berlin to Ivanka Trump has to happen everywhere. Any of the Trumps, or the Secretary of the State, or the Vice President, or anybody else connected to this misbegotten evil man stops long enough to take questions. Our media has been all but frozen out, replaced by propaganda outlets where nothing, no matter how outlandish or un-American, not even attacks on the very freedom of speech under which they operate, get a follow-up question. On those few occasions where there is an opportunity to state that Donald Trump is an existential threat to the U.S. and the free world, our media has largely choked. It asks him questions designed not to be challenging to his fact-free worldview, but designed to be played on TV. Or it self-censors, overcome at the crucial moment by desperate, stupid, and ultimately pointless attempts to, as a source at one cable outfit reportedly put it, quote, focus on Trump voters. Last Saturday, Trump compared immigrants to snakes. He called the rules of the Senate and the House archaic. His chief of staff would, on a Sunday morning, muse about a constitutional attack on the First Amendment. He invited the murderous strongman of the Philippines to the White House. He complimented Kim Jong-un. He held a rally seemingly attended by white nationalists. And after all that, this was the headline in the Sunday Philadelphia Inquirer. Right under winner of 20 Pulitzer Prizes, quote, touting progress. Touting progress? Touting fascism? We here, the liberal media, Trump's fake news, we pretend this is just another presidency and just another difference of political opinion. Even the New York Times, as Robert Duvall called it in the movie Network, the holy goddamn New York Times, the same morning, remaking the presidency, Trump has changed too, expanding power and shunning norms, yet adapting to realities after 100 days. The hell he has! Adapting to what realities? As that newspaper hit the streets, his spokesman was talking about a constitutional libel amendment so that, as Trump put it 11 months before his inauguration, we can sue the New York Times and win lots of money. In interviews preceding his 100th day in office, Trump showed a succession of reporters the county-by-county map of his election 5 months after the election, and at least half seriously suggested to a reporter from the Washington Post that the paper should print that map now on its front page. And instead of an article asking how crazy anybody who would do such a thing would have to be, this became an anecdote for the Washington Post reporter to joke about much later on television. Trump told a Washington Examiner reporter about his admiration for Andrew Jackson and how Jackson was really angry that he saw what was happening with regard to the Civil War. He said there's no reason for this. Jackson left the presidency 24 years before the Civil War started and in fact had nearly precipitated a civil war 29 years before it started, and he was a slave owner. Trump couldn't have been more wrong about him if he had claimed Andrew Jackson rode to his inauguration in an automobile. And yet, the American news media continues to treat Donald Trump as just another story, as the wacky neighbor who just happens to have all the nukes. And it continues to treat the Trump presidential family syndicate as just another collection of White House relatives. So again, my plea to the journalists of the world, do what Miriam Meckel, the editor-in-chief of a German business magazine, did. You're the first daughter of the United States, began Ms. Meckel as she moderated a business panel featuring Ivanka Trump. The German audience is not that familiar with the concept of a first daughter. I'd like to ask you, what is your role and whom are you representing? Your father is President of the United States, the American people, or your business? Ms. Trump, whose confused beauty pageant contestant grade stupidity has largely been hidden from the American audience, stumbled through her answer. Incredibly, she then began to laud her father's treatment of women. I'm very proud of my father's advocacy. He's been a tremendous champion of supporting families and enabling them to thrive. The crowd then began to hiss, boo, and make other verbal equivalents of eye-rolling. You hear the reaction from the audience, the moderator Meckel observed. I need to address one more point. Some attitudes towards women your father has publicly displayed in former times might leave one questioning whether he's such an empowerer for women. Since Trump's election, no one in this country has asked a question that pointed or that realistic or that challenging of Trump or his spawn or his key appointees, and Miriam Meckel asked two of them. I've certainly heard the criticism from the media, Ivanka Trump replied, again startled by reality and sounding surprisingly like her father all of a sudden, that's been perpetuated. Miriam Meckel deserves all the Pulitzer Prizes, the Murrow Awards, the Cronkite Awards, the Emmys, the Peabodys, and any other trophy we can hand her. And she and other reporters and editors, and just other citizens in Germany or England or France, or from those foreign correspondents who are reporting from the United States for the BBC, or Agence France Presse, or the Aardvark Daily of Wellington, New Zealand, or anybody who is anywhere that members of this family or this government might not be able to elude the media. You need to keep asking pointed, doubtful, skeptical, snarky questions that our reporters are too afraid to ask. Ask Trump if he's ever had a CAT scan. Ask Trump if he is experiencing headaches or blurred vision or hallucinations. Ask Rex Tillerson if he's worried at all that evidence apparently connecting his boss's campaign to Russian electoral hacking continues to mount while his boss has resumed blaming China for it. Ask the UN ambassador Nikki Haley if it's a problem at all that Trump invited Duterte to the White House and congratulated Erdogan on destroying democracy in Turkey. Ask any of the Trump children why their father has simultaneously enraged North Korea and South Korea and China. Ask them about the Carl Vinson Armada bluff, and ask them about the conflation of Kim Jong-un and Kim Jong-il, and ask them about the White House education story on Snapchat that misspelled the word education, and ask them about how the First Lady seemingly had to physically nudge Trump to put his hand over his heart during the national anthem. Or just take anything from that crazy Associated Press interview, where he said off the record that he watched CNN, and then said on the record 2 minutes later that he never watched CNN, and ask him about it. Or that crazy Reuters interview where he admitted he thought life as president would be easier than being a 70-year-old con man who inherited his money from his daddy. Ask him. Or take the crazy rally in Pennsylvania where he compared immigrants to snakes when his own grandparents were immigrants, and his mother was an immigrant, and 2 of his 3 wives have been immigrants, and 4 of his 5 kids are the children of an immigrant. And ask him, for God's sake, I'm begging you, ask him, because the media of this country is too terrified of being accused of not being balanced to come out and state the obvious, that emotionally, the president is not at all balanced. And that while all of our lives depend on whether he gets less crazy or more crazy, apparently it is no longer worth the risk to American reporters to ask just how crazy he is at this particular moment. Resist. Peace.